I was hired to watch security cameras at night. If you ever offered a job where the only requirement is just watch the cameras and don't take it, especially if they tell you the night shift is quiet. That's exactly how they sold it to me. The building was a large business complex on the outskirts of the city. 6 floors above ground, 2 below. Mostly offices, some storage areas, a few empty floors waiting for tenants. The kind of place that looked busy during the day and completely lifeless at night. They didn't ask many questions during the interview. No background check. No references. Just one thing. Can you handle being alone for 12 hours? I said yes. That was my first mistake. The first nights, the security room was on the ground floor. A small windowless room filled with monitors, one for every hallway, stairwell, entrance, and parking area. The hum of electronics never stopped. It became white noise after a while. The first few nights were exactly what they promised. Empty corridors. Automatic lights turning on and off. Occasional flicker from old cameras. Nothing unusual. I filled the time with podcasts and coffee, glancing at the screens every few minutes. The building felt dead in the way office buildings do after hours. Not scary, just hollow. On the 4th night, I noticed something small. One of the cameras on the 3rd floor showed movement. At first, I thought it was a lighting glitch. The motion detection box flashed briefly, then disappeared. I leaned closer to the screen. There was a man standing in the hallway. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, facing the camera. I checked the access logs. No entries. Checked the other cameras on that floor. Empty. I assumed he was a cleaner or a late worker who hadn't signed in properly. That happens sometimes, according to the supervisor. I watched him for a minute. He didn't move. Then I looked away to check another screen. When I looked back, he was gone. Patterns. The man appeared again 2 nights later. Different hallway. Same floor. Same posture. Same angle. Same stillness, always facing the camera. Never walking into frame. Never leaving it. Just there. I started checking timestamps. The footage didn't glitch. No jumps. No missing frames. It was as if he had always been standing there and I had only just noticed. I emailed my supervisor. His reply was short. Probably a reflection or a compression artifact. Old cameras do that. I tried to believe him. But reflections don't stand in hallways. The delay things escalated slowly, which was worse than if they had exploded all at once. One night I noticed something new. The man was no longer still. He raised his arm. Very slowly, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. I lifted my hand from the desk without thinking. On the screen, the man lifted his hand too, but not at the same time. There was a delay. About 3 seconds, I dropped my hand. 3 seconds later, so did he. I didn't sleep the next day. The rule nobody told me. I finally confronted the day supervisor in person. I showed him the footage. He didn't look surprised. He just sighed and rubbed his face. "You weren't supposed to notice that one yet," he said. That sentence alone should have made me quit. Instead, I asked what he meant. He hesitated, then said quietly, "If you ever see someone on the cameras who isn't in the logs, don't go looking for them." I laughed nervously. I wasn't planning to. He looked at me for a long moment. "Good," he said, "because the ones who do don't come back." Old footage. I started digging through archived recordings. Most of it was boring, empty halls, flickering lights, nothing. Until I found a folder labeled only with dates. Years of them. I clicked the oldest file. The footage showed the security room, the chair, the desk, the monitors, and a man sitting in my seat, watching the screens. He leaned forward, squinting exactly the way I did when something caught my attention. The timestamp said the footage was recorded 5 years ago. The man turned slightly. I froze. It was me. Not a perfect copy, but close enough that my stomach dropped. Same posture, same nervous habits. Same scar on the left hand. I closed the file. My hands were shaking. The replacement, the man on the cameras, started appearing more often. On every floor. Sometimes on stairwells that had no cameras. Sometimes in rooms that didn't exist. And always looking directly into the lens. One night, every monitor showed him. Different angles, different distances, all of them delayed versions of me. I realized the truth too late. The job wasn't to watch, it was to stay, to occupy the position. The thing in the building didn't move freely. It needed a reference point, a watcher. And when the watcher noticed it, the process started. The final night, the supervisor didn't answer my calls. The exits locked automatically. The cameras stopped showing hallways. They only showed me from behind, from the side, from angles that weren't possible. The chair across from me scraped against the floor. I didn't turn around. I already knew what I'd see. A man who looked like me, but closer. Better synchronized. The monitors went dark one by one. The cameras didn't stop when I quit. I thought leaving the building would end it. For a long time, it almost felt like it did. Weeks passed without anything unusual. No strange reflections, no familiar delays, no feeling of being watched. I started to believe that the job had been the final step, that once I walked away, the cycle broke. That belief lasted exactly 23 days. I know the number because that's how long it took before I noticed the first camera. It wasn't inside a building. It was across the street from my apartment. A small dome camera mounted above a closed convenience store. I'd walked past it dozens of times before, never giving it a second thought. Until one night, as I waited for the crosswalk light to change, I felt the urge to look up. The lens was pointed directly at me. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the screen behind the glass. The store was closed, but the monitor inside was on, and on it, I could see myself, standing at the intersection, looking up. I stepped back. 3 seconds later, the image on the screen did the same. I started noticing them everywhere after that. Parking garages, office lobbies, apartment entrances, always ordinary places, always ordinary cameras, and always a version of me delayed, watching from the other side. I stopped looking at reflective surfaces. I avoided storefronts at night. But the worst moment came when I visited a friend who worked in IT. We were talking about nothing important when I noticed the security feed on his laptop. Rows of empty hallways. Except one. In the corner of the screen, a familiar figure stood just out of frame. My friend frowned. "That's weird," he said. "That camera is not connected to anything," I didn't ask him to explain. I already knew. The thing didn't stay in one building anymore. It didn't need to. I had done my job. I had learned how to watch. And now, wherever there were cameras, it could exist. The last message I ever received came from a number I didn't recognize. No threats, no explanations. Just one sentence. "You don't need walls anymore. I cover my laptop camera now. I tape over my phone lens. I avoid places with too many screens. But sometimes, late at night, when I pass a dark window, I see a reflection that moves half a second too late, and I know the job never really ends.